Hi, Aries. How are you doing? We're going to look at Uranus into Gemini, which is a transit or a movement of the planet from one zodiac sign to the other. So we're always, what that means is from Earth, just a little, I don't know why I feel like I need to say this, but from Earth, we look up and we see what's out there. And a long time ago, humans decided like this set of stars is Gemini, this set of stars is Taurus. And it's how we view it from here. And then we also notice there are these things that move predictably around, seemingly around us, but around the sun. And, they'll move, as they move through these star patterns that we named Gemini or Taurus or Aries or whatever. And so that's what's happening. So as viewed from Earth, what do we see? And so Uranus, and then there's also the complication of, are you looking at Western astrology or sidereal astrology? Because they'll say slightly different things about where stuff is. I'm using Western astrology. I don't know why I need to say that to you right now. You may not want to hear all that, but just thought I'd throw it out there. But we're going to look at where Gemini and Taurus are in the Aries chart. And what that means is, the where indicates an area of your life. So certain types of things are kind of lumped in a chart into certain areas that kind of correspond to the zodiac signs. So where Taurus is in your chart, the kind of group of life themes that go with Taurus include a lot of things. Like the thing about astrology is I could give you a 2-page exhaustive list of all the things, but we can't fit it here. And it would get boring to hear everything. And then it would start to seem like this huge list that includes everything on the planet. But more simply put, this area where Taurus rules your chart also rules or impacts if you have a daily job where you're earning money. It will impact how you spend your money. It will impact and govern and influence your value system. So your core, bedrock values. It has to do with marriage sometimes. You can see different people coming into your life that kind of bubble up through your value system, which would include marriage, right? Because hopefully you're marrying somebody where you share some set of values, or what you value will influence how you pick a marriage partner or a long-term partner. Presumably, what you value, what you care about would ideally trickle up and influence what kind of job you take. Yeah. And if it's just sometimes the way our society is set up, we just value money because we need it to literally live and put, shelter, food. So we sometimes are forced to prioritize money as a value when we're choosing a job and even a spouse, unfortunately. That happens all the time. Nobody likes to talk about it, but it is a part of the thing. And money is one of the biggest issues that can break up a marriage. So money, marriage, values, they're all mixed together here, but it can show mundane things like how you're spending money. Are you spending a lot right now? Do you need to conserve your money? Like sometimes the astrology will kind of talk about these things too. It's also your comfort zone. So Aries really likes material comfort and material things. It feels soothing. And they love Aries, generally speaking. And it may not be every Aries on the planet, but especially a rising Aries. You like to earn money. You like being in charge of, breadwinning. You like putting out effort. You like exerting yourself, taking an action, and then getting the feedback in various ways, including income. It's like a game to you that provides great satisfaction and comfort to you. if you're prevented somehow from earning money, it's a very frustrating thing for a lot of Aries to feel like hamstrung, like they can't go out and exert effort and earn money, or you're exerting effort and you're not getting the reward. It's very frustrating. So you usually set your life up. You do choose very wisely, maybe after some trial and error, but you choose what you do to earn money in a way that you assure yourself that you will, earn that money. If you put out the effort, that money will come in, and you have very little patience. Like some signs will put up with a lot. They'll do a thankless job and not get the full reward. Aries, on the other hand, you have this great quality of like, no, no, that's not going to work. If I exert this effort, I get this money. And so the Aries who maybe for, a lot of psychological reasons, upbringing, culture, who get in their own way of this are very frustrated Aries. So because in Aries, really, it's like output, output effort, input cash, output effort, input cash. And it doesn't mean like if you are an Aries who has a problem with capitalism or something, it doesn't mean you're a part of that system. It's just logical to you. And within the system where we live, the way it works is if you exert effort, you get something back. And so you make sure that exchange is really good, or you're very, very frustrated. It just gives you great satisfaction and comfort. And generally speaking, Aries tend to do well in business. They tend to do well as business owners, doing their own independent work like real estate agent or just having your own business of some sort. But you're also good employees because you're very, like you exert the effort and you're very clear. Like Aries tends to be very clear. So I'm saying a lot of this because I want to talk about where Uranus was over the last 7 to 8 years and where this influence of Uranus has been felt. So if we go back to kind of 2017, 18, you started to feel more and more like, and again, this is a gradual, it's kind of like a bell curve of influence here, and we're winding it down right as I speak. But you started to feel like, I want to earn more money, or I really want to go after some kind of money-making endeavor with my future in mind. You're very directed, self-directed. You saw a vision and you exerted all this energy. And probably by now, I think, have gotten some things going, whether it's working for someone else or doing it yourself, where you do have that feedback loop of effort, money, or reward. If it's not money, it's reward, effort, reward. And you presumably set it up so that now you feel a sense of satisfaction. You may have frustration. We all do. Like, is it perfect? Is your life perfect? Are you getting exactly what you, maybe not? It's not perfection, but you can see where you exerted effort, you got reward. And where you didn't get reward, you stopped exerting effort, hopefully. And so it was a lesson in that. And so with Uranus in that sector, and right now we're just talking about the money piece, the earning money, because there are many other layers of meaning. So with Uranus there, you may have changed strategy many times over because you were kind of experimenting and pushing at the edges, the frontiers of your own life and what you could do in this realm of effort, reward, effort, reward. So you were pushing at the edges, kind of pushing the frontier, another thing that Aries loves to do. But part of what was hard, maybe on your nervous system and hard for you, was it didn't always work, or it worked for a while and then it stopped working. And then it's just frustration. So Uranus is the stop, start energy, or up, down, like money coming in up here, and then, ooh, in the next few months, money's down here. And then it goes back up, money coming, maybe a lot of influx of cash, and then, oop, feast or famine kind of thing can happen with Uranus going through this sector. So that's what you have been experiencing. But I would guess a lot of areas with more success than not. Like, are you better off now than you were 8 years ago? Most likely, yes. If not, your nervous system will calm down because Uranus is now moving into a different area. But let's go back to this area of Taurus just for a minute, because it has to do with your value system and who you choose as partners, business partners, and marriage partners, or just long-term, partners. Uranus going through that sector means that there could have been, for some of you, maybe not everybody, surprises in your marriage, surprise potential marriage partners coming in, like surprise relationships. And maybe you did some surprising things around relationships. It also, this could have intermixed with your actual business. So it's not inconceivable that something to do with marriage, divorce, dating, somehow merged with your actual job. It's a possibility. I'm not saying that's, 100% true for 100% of you, but that's one way it can work its way out. But you changed your profession or slightly, like your title or what you're focused on. You've been making all these changes. And this would have been true in who you're choosing to work closely with and to be close to. So there could have been switch ups throughout. If you're working for somebody, you could have changed jobs, you could have had bosses change, employee changes, money fluctuated a great deal. But overall, I would say my best guess is for most of you, you're better off now than you were 8 years ago. And in some regard, like either you're doing more of what you love or you've created, Aries is really good at creating the setup to feel satisfied by this area. But it had its frustrations because it did, Uranus in this area of comfort zone is not comfortable because it creates, it's chaos. It's chaos. It's filled with surprises, unexpected turns and twists. And so this area of life is not where you want that energy typically. You want this to feel like smooth sailing. So now Uranus is leaving that area alone. So it may be smooth sailing from here on out. Now this kind of chaotic up and down energy of Uranus is moving into an area governed by Gemini that has to do with your community. It's your community, kind of your extended family, quick trips and travel, like short trips, lots of commuting sometimes, because Uranus is now associated with online stuff and the internet. You may be, and this sounds kind of ridiculous now because everybody's kind of made the switch from doing things in a more analog way to everybody's online all the time, either through their phone or their laptop. So it's less impactful to say online business or using technology. But I feel like I'm compelled to say it because it's a traditional meaning that we've given to Uranus, which of all the planets carries electricity. And it's also of the air. So things like satellites and the internet, things are kind of moving in mysterious ways through our airwaves. So anyway, Uranus is now in this area, this new area, but it has a lot to do with publishing. Like this is the type of publishing that maybe is for a smaller audience, not necessarily, but it's more like in the idea of posts, newsletter that you would email to people. It's the smaller, it's not the world stage where you're talking to 100,000 people or more. It's not being wildly famous necessarily. Like you may have other things in your chart that point to that. So it's going to be different for different Aries. But where Uranus is, Uranus is not in this particular placement governing the world stage and reaching, thousands and millions. Uranus here is more about your community. So if you set up an online community or you're a part of an online community or something about your company deals with communities, online spaces, or even in-person spaces, can't forget that that exists. People can meet in person. So, sorry, allergies are just rough right now, so I keep having to clear my throat. I apologize. Um, and so you're turning over a new leaf here. So if you already, I find this to be true with me. So if I'm looking at my own chart or I'm doing like, say, I'm a Virgo. So if I'm speaking to Virgos, I'll be thinking in my head, well, I already feel this way. I already feel like I use technology. I already do this. But that doesn't matter. It's going to be in a new way. It's going to amp up. It's going to be new and it's going to be surprising and it's going to have twists and turns that you don't expect. And so if you're listening to this, and you like me would be like, well, I already do that. I already have a newsletter. I already have a community. I already use technology. So yeah. But it's going to be different. That's all I know. With Uranus, we can't predict what, we just know it's going to be different and a surprise. So the predictability about Uranus is that it's unpredictable. At the beginning of 8 years ago, you never could have predicted exactly what would have happened where you are now and all the things you did in your work zone or with partnerships and relationships. You never could have predicted the whole thing that unfolded. So now it's same thing. You can't really predict what this will be. You may have some glimmers of where you are now and how you feel this shift in energy, but you don't 100% know. So let's talk about a few more things about this little area of the chart where Uranus is moving into at the end of April. My ephemeris, by the way, somebody made a comment that's April 25. I saw that using AI that it said April 25, but I usually, not always, if I'm in a rush, I sometimes may just look something up. But I checked the ephemeris because more and more using AI, or like a Google search is AI, basically. I went to the old-fashioned Swiss ephemeris of 9,000 years or whatever it is. And in the ephemeris, it says April 27. I don't know, the ephemeris could be wrong. I don't know. But I trust the ephemeris over AI Google search and or just repeating what somebody else says. But the ephemeris could be wrong, but that's what I'm quoting if I say April 27, just so you know my source. Anyway, end of April. It doesn't matter because this is a big, big energy. You've been feeling it actually for a year plus. And so you've felt the change. It's like most people feel this looming thing with AI. We know it's going to change the world. We just can't predict exactly how. There are a lot of dire predictions. There are a lot of positive predictions. We don't know. We don't know, but it's here. It's not just coming, it's here. This may have something to do with your business. I don't know. But anyway, it's called the third house where Gemini is in your chart. So this is the area I'm describing. This area also has to do with local merchants and stores. So, the old idea before pre-internet shopping was this area governed you kind of picture yourself in a walkable city like New York City, any walkable or a walkable town. I live in this tiny little village area that's highly walkable. I can go to doctor's appointments. I can just walk like 2 or 3 blocks and get almost everything I need. So my neighborhood's a very good example of this, but picture New York City, because most people are familiar with New York City or London or Paris or, anywhere you can walk. So the old ancient idea of this house is when you walk out your door, you're in your neighborhood, third house. This is where Gemini is in your chart. And you walk a block and you're going to walk like this, but you walk a block and there's the corner market with the flowers outside and you go in, it's this big, but you can get milk and you can get orange juice and, whatever else, small thing you can get in the corner market. Then you've got your little bag and you walk again, like to block number 2 and there's your favorite coffee shop or the place where you buy the butcher shop or whatever, anything. Like this is where you get your soap. This tiny little shop is the soap shop. And so you get the idea. They're merchants and they're local and they're in your neighborhood. They're in your community because way back when, before cars were a big thing and people traveled so far, drove everywhere, everything was really close. This was your community. This is where you found your merchants. And so there's something very quaint and sweet for anybody who's seen Gilmore Girls. It's kind of like that. It's like Gilmore Girls, but in an astrological chart. But it's where you know everybody and you're like, hey, Miss Patty, that's a Gilmore Girl reference. And you have Luke's where you get coffee reliably and, all the things. And it even encapsulates, Gilmore Girls is a great analogy for this. So and then there's like a town square. It's like a quaint New England town green or square with a gazebo. Like it's the central area where everybody gathers. This is the third house. This is where Uranus is definitively moving at the end of April in your chart. So think like a Gilmore Girl, think like an old-fashioned town pre-car, where people are just biking around, and how there is this quaint sweetness about this house. And it's the small community, it's the meaningful connections, it's the smaller merchants. And I love this actually now as our economy is changing greatly and was greatly impacted by Uranus in Taurus. Our economy, because Aries, you're actually like the key sign. Like we astrologers read the chart based off you being the primary, and you'll love this because you love to be the primary one. You're our number one. Like if we want to read just a general chart, we're going to read it with Aries rising. And so you're the it person. And Uranus impacted heavily. We can see the toll it took on our financial systems, capitalism in general, the financial markets. We see, people have been greatly impacted. Money has been greatly impacted, the people's ability to earn or not earn. We see, the price of, oil or whatever. That was Uranus in Taurus. And so it created a lot of change. And, I've said this in other signs readings, but Uranus is called the change bringer. So now it's here to change something new. Uranus as a planetary energy is far more compatible with what is Gemini energy because they're both air signs. Gemini is governed by Mercury. Uranus is like this higher vibration of Mercury. So there's a better flow with Uranus and Gemini than Uranus and Taurus. So it's shaking up, and there's this movement perhaps over the next 7-8 years to smaller markets, maybe bringing things more local, decentralizing, doing things in a brand new way in terms of merchants and sales of goods. And for the system to work, this change has to happen. But if you are a merchant, if you're selling something, and it doesn't have to be milk or, you don't have to be the butcher, but you're selling something and you have your own concern, this is maybe a really good time for you. Will it be scary? Probably. Will you feel like you don't know what to do? Often, yes. Will there be surprises? Absolutely. But it's in an area where you're kind of game for it. Like your energy, Aries, in this sector is not governed by Taurus anymore. You don't crave comfort in this game of sales. You don't crave the same comfort. This is like where you love playing the game. Your mind is sharp. And so whether you're creating a newsletter or smaller communications to community, maybe you have a podcast that's has a smaller feel than a big TV production. However you're expressing this, some of you are going back to school, some of you are teaching as though you're creating a school, but you're definitely whatever you're doing, you're learning lots of little important skills that will change your life. And so it's a big time of learning on your feet as you go. It's that thought of, you're building the boat around you as you go through the water. And so it may have that feeling of urgency, like quick, 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 learn this, learn this. Wait, we've got to change the system here. But it's exciting and exhilarating to you. This is where your mind really clicks on. And Uranus is going to amp that up. So you're kind of brilliant in this area of communications, maybe ways of commuting, for some of you, and using technology. You're kind of brilliant here, creating community, being in a community. Also, it does in terms of relationships. I don't know if I mentioned, but it governs like your extended family, not your nuclear family, but your extended family. You may be doing lots of little trips. It's also, this can show friends, but it's like your community of friends, if that makes sense. So anyway, that's a lot to throw out there, but I think this energy is going to feel much better for you and for your nervous system. We're living in really weird and scary times, frankly. That's the elephant in the room. And so, yeah, your anxiety is still there, perhaps, like all of us. There's just this low boil of anxiety and unease. That's still there for all of us. So that's not going away anytime, in the immediate future. And bad things are still happening all over the place, but this is where your genius lies right now. This is where you can dive in and kind of get into the game of it. And it's a great distraction, maybe a very healthy distraction, maybe a very lucrative distraction to put your energy into where Uranus is right now, based on everything I described. So I hope that helps you out, and good luck with all of it. Take care.